Hello and welcome back everybody. My name is Selma Yasser and today we're going to implement run-length encoding in Python. So let's get started. Well, to begin with, let's recap what is run-length encoding. Run-length encoding is a type of compression that depends on repetitive pattern and it kind of compresses that repetitive pattern. How exactly? For example, if I have the pattern AAA, BBB, and CCC. It will look at the first letter. This is A. A is repeated 1, 2, 3 times. So it will write for you 3A, or it will write in the compressed file 3A. And then we have B. It will count the number of B's that are here, which is 1, 2, and 3. So it will write 3B. And then it will go to the last element, which is C. It will count how many C's are there, which is 3C. And for more information on the run-length encoding, check out my previous video. Now, how can we implement that in Python? I have a variable, for example, which let's say AAA, BBB, and CCC. I want to make a function in which I would be able to enter that variable, that unencoded file, the uncompressed file, and I wanted to return the encoded one, the compressed version of that file. So to create a function, we start by define, which is def, and then we give the name of the function, which can be encoding, and that function will take in parameters, and I want that parameter, for me it will be a string of variables, so that I can return the encoded string back. I will call that string character. So how do we define a function? We write def, and then we give the name of the function, and you give in how many parameters it will take. If the function does not take any parameters, we can just remove character to show that the function does not take any parameter. But in this case, we will take one parameter, which is the uncompressed file. Then we made the function, but what can we write inside the function? We need to think of a way to encode this parameter that's being given to us. Well, firstly, I want my function to be in such a way that I would have A and the numbers of A that is there. And then I would have another element B and the number of B's that are there. And then I would have the element C and the number of C's that are there. I want something to represent the element and its number in a pair, to represent them together. That basically reminds us of the key-value pair, which is represented by a dictionary. A dictionary is made up of a key-value pair. And the key can be anything, and so can the value. In our case, we want the key to be the letter that's being represented, and the number of times that that letter occurred. So basically, we want to have a key-value pair. We're going to put that dictionary inside our function. We will call it a dict. And a dictionary is created by those curly brackets. I want that dictionary to include a key-value pair of our character and how many times it's been repeated. Well, in this case, it will be like something like this. Well, in this case, it will be something like this. It will be A 3 times, B 3 times, and C 3 times. But I really don't want to be the one to write this. I want the computer to do it for me. I don't want to keep on writing it every time I get a coded message. So we need to think of a way to go over this entire character one by one and check if that character is there inside a dictionary or not. If it is not inside the dictionary, I don't want to keep on adding it. So basically we will create an empty dictionary that will include nothing. And I want a way to add these characters inside the dictionary. So let's think together. I want a way to iterate over this entire character and to check if this character is inside the dictionary. Then we will just increase the number by 1. We'll just increase the amount it has by 1. If it's not inside the dictionary, then we will add it to the dictionary and we will add next to it the value of 1. That means that 1 is there of that character. For example, I have 1A. It will check if A is in the dictionary. Well, the dictionary right now is empty. So it will add it inside that dictionary. It will add it like this with the value of 1. Okay, now it will go over the next one. Is the value A in the dictionary? Well, yes, there's actually an A in the dictionary. So I want it to increase by 2. Then it will go to the third one. Is the value of A inside the dictionary? Well, yes, it is. So then change the number by 3. To do that, we would need a loop. To be more specific, we're going to use a for loop. Okay, and for I in range, we will use the function range. And then I want it to iterate over the entire string. So we will say length of the string. That means that it will go from I, starting from 0, up to the length of that entire string. The length of the string can be anything. It can go from 1 to 20 to 100. Okay, so it will go from 0 to, if it is 100, it will go from 0 to 99, making the total count 100. So, we created a for loop. Now I want to check if that character that is going through the for loop is in the dictionary. Now I will say if the character of I, that means I is a number, is an integer, starting from 1 up to the length of the character. Now, if the character of I, I'm getting the character which is at the index I. If the I is 0, because I over here is an integer, if I is 0, then it will be character of 0, which in this case is A. Remember that Python starts from 0. So the first element in our string will be 0, will be at index 0. So if I is an integer, then I want to check if that character of index I is inside the dictionary. So there is a built-in function called in, which will check if it is inside this dictionary or not. We will write the name of the dict that we want to check for. So if it is in the dictionary, then I want to take the dictionary of that character. Then this line says that I have the dictionary, and this is the value that's inside this dictionary, which is character at index I. I want to increase that number by 1. Okay. If else it's not in the dictionary, then I want to add it to the dictionary. I will take the dict of the character and I will make it equal to 1. So basically what I'm doing here is that I'm iterating over the character, okay, and checking. For every I in range of the length of the character, which is from every I, starting of 0 until the length of the character, if this character is inside the dictionary, then just increase its value by 1. If it's not inside the dictionary, then add it to the dictionary with the value 1, because once it's added, there's only one value of it, which is 1. After all of this through, I need to have the return function, which will return dict, which will return the value of the dictionary. So let's run it. And now if I call the function encoding, and I give it the parameter which is character, which is defined here as this AAA, BBB, and CCC. If I click enter, it will return A, repeated 3 times, B, repeated 3, and C, repeated 3. So good. We've done the first thing. We've returned the dictionary that includes the key value pair, which is the character and how many times it's repeated. Now this format is good. We've done the first step or the first few steps so far, but we also want to view it as a form of a string. Like I want it to return 3A, 3B, and 3C in that form, not in this form. To do that, we'll go back to our function and we will create a new variable called keys. I want this keys to include all the values of dict.keys. So this keys will include all the key values of the dictionary inside a list. I will create a list. Okay. This will give us all the values of the dictionary, which is A, B, and C, all inside one list. Let's do the same thing for the values. And this will return all the values of the dictionary inside a list. And it is stored in the variable values. Now, okay, we have a list of keys and we have a list of values, and also the dictionary that includes those keys and value pair. Now remember that keys here is a list of strings and values here is a list of integers. I want to somehow add them together. So in a new variable, which is the encoded variable, so we're going to create a new variable called encode, which will be an empty string for now. Now we need to add each key with its value afterwards. So I can say for, I will iterate over the length of the dictionary. If the dictionary is made up of 3 values, then the length is 3. So for I in range len of dit, right? This will iterate over the dictionary. I want to add encode. I will add to the encode the values. Since values is a list, then I want to add the values at the index I plus the keys at the index I. And that means if we have I as 0, over here the keys will be a list of 3, 3, 3. And the values will be a list of A, B, and C. So if I is 0, if I starts at 0, if I over here is 0, then it will give you the integer 3. And the keys at 0, which will return A. So it's 3 and A. It will add those two together. It will concatenate these two together and turn it into one big string with all the values next to the keys. So let's try that. Well, actually, it's giving me an error here, which is undefined name, which is encode. Oh, this is supposed to be encode. Yeah. Okay, now we can try. So if I write encoding for character, well, oh, it's giving me an error, which says there is an error at line 13. This is supposed to be keys. Yes, because with an S. Let's go back and write. Now it's giving me another error. Well, this error says it's at line 17, and it says we have a type error. We cannot add an integer to a string. Well, remember, values are all made up of strings, so you cannot really add the strings and integers together. To solve that problem, we can just use the built-in function string, which will convert the values to a string, to each value to a string. Let's try now. Hopefully this time it will work. And we need to return the encode and not the dictionary in this time. And it works. It returns 3A, 3B, and 3C. So one last look at the code again. We defined a function called encoding. We created an empty dictionary, and we created an empty string. The dictionary is called dict, and the string is called encode. To this dictionary, we added key value pairs of the character and the amount of time it was repeated. And in the encode, we're going to store the value and the amount of times it was repeated in a form of a string. We started by doing a loop, and it said that I will iterate over every character inside this string. Okay? And if I find that this character is not in the dictionary, I will add it to the dictionary with a key of 1. So that means it's going to count it as 1. Now, if I already find it inside the dictionary, if it's already there, then I'll just increase the number by 1. So if it was 1, then it will become 2. That means it increased the value by 1, so the count became 2. So for that specific character, we have 2. After I finish through this loop, I will make another variable called keys, which will store all the key values of a dictionary inside a list. So it will give us A, B, and C. I will also make another variable called values, which will store all the values inside a dictionary as a list, and this will return 3, 3, and 3. Now, I want to add these two together by saying encode plus equal. Plus equal is the same as saying equals to encode plus. Since these two variables are the same, then I can just remove it and write plus equal. So it's going to iterate over this character again, and it will add it to the encode, the empty string. It will add to it the values and the keys, each value with each key in order. First, we'll start with the values at index 1 plus the key at index 1, and then the value at index 2 plus the key at index 2. Now remember that values here is an integer, and you cannot really add integer to a string, so we use the function string. And after the loop ends, it will return encode as a string that includes the key and the value together, which is basically the alphabet and the number of times that it has been repeated. And by the end of the code, we close the function by saying return encode, which will return to us the string encode. Now that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I see you again next time. See ya!